Today we're showing you everything you need to know about black and white, part 2. Hey guys, and welcome to Phlearn, where we make learning photography and Photoshop a lot of fun. My name is Aaron Nace, and you can find us on Twitter at Phlearn. Today we're picking up where we left off with part 2. We're going to show you guys some different uses for black and whites. We're going to talk about some of the times when black and white is applicable and sometimes when it's really not the best idea. And then we're going to jump into Photoshop, and I'm going to show you guys another couple of methods on how to turn your color images into black and white and get the most out of those black and whites. So this episode is all about black and white, and black and white is awesome, but it's not always going to be the best option for your photos. Black and white tends to lend itself really nicely to like those natural feeling photos and feelings where you have a little bit of emotion involved and things like that. If you have a photo that's like far out there or like super stylized and you really want kind of like a in-your-face look, black and white usually might not be the best option for that. So you can see in this photo we took a few years ago that the colors are crazy. We're using colors like the red curtains behind our subject to really draw attention to the woman who's shooting the shotgun, who's blasting the guy out of the wall. And this is one of those images where there's a lot going on, and we really wanted like this bright, vivid effect here, this like super stylized image. That was the whole point of the image. Now you can see if we convert the image into black and white, it really does lose quite of what it's going for. Not only that, but it doesn't look right in black and white because it's the wrong type of style for a black and white image. Black and whites, you really want to go a little bit more on like the natural side. So this is just a really good example of kind of when to think about, is the style of the image and the end goal of the image that I'm shooting, is it going to be better in color or in black and white? Another place you can play around with black and white is selective color. This is basically where you take most of the image and make it color, or most of the image and make it black and white, and switch around just a little part. Like you have a red rose, an entirely black and white image. And most of the time I think this would be done well for like comedic effect, or in a movie like Schindler's List, where you want to call attention to like one specific place. I haven't seen it done many times in a way that I really liked it, but it is a technique that is available in your back pocket if you need it. In our last video, we showed you the contrast between a color video and a black and white video. Now we're going to show you guys those in a split screen so you can see them both at the same time. So you guys can see there are a ton of uses for black and white photos, and there really is a big difference between what triggers in your brain when you look at an image that's in color versus an image that is in black and white. So now let's get into Photoshop, where I'm going to show you guys how to take your color images and show you a couple more techniques on how to turn those into black and white and get the most out of those images. So now we're going to get into a couple more ways to create a black and white and ways you can tweak those black and white images after they're already black and white. And if you're into this, check out our pro tutorial where we feature 3.5 hours of fashion retouching. It's totally awesome. Okay, let's get back into it. So we've converted our image back to color from our last episode, and we're going to just pop it back into black and white really quick. And for this one, I am going to just choose like the very quick and easy option here, which is Shift-Command-U. It's just going to desaturate the image. You don't get control over the lights and the darks, but we're going to use curves and levels to do just that. Okay, first thing I want to show you guys with curves when you are in a black and white image. Let's just grab our adjustment layer, and I'm going to go down here to curves. Okay, now here within the curves, the left side of this histogram is basically your dark information, and the right side of your histogram is your light information. So you can see we don't have a lot of lights in this image, we have quite a bit of dark. You can take your sliders here and actually like click and drag your left point, your input from the left to the right. What that's going to do is it's basically going to take any information that's to the left of this, and it's going to convert it right to black. So it's going to take this and it's going to say, okay, all this stuff is just going to go 100% to black. Now you can do the other side as well, clicking from the right to the left, and then it's going to take everything that's to the right of this curve, and that's going to make it 100% white. So in essence, we're like really kind of like bringing down the dynamic range of the image, getting rid of a lot of information on the darks as well as the lights. And that's why we have such a high contrast type of image. Now, this is kind of like the start. The other cool thing you can do, and I'm sure you guys have seen great examples of this, is you can bring in, like you can bring your black point in, but instead of having that black point be black, you can have it be gray, which is a really cool option. So it's going to clip your image. All you have to do is grab this guy, and instead of like bringing it all the way to the right or up from here, you can actually kind of like bring it somewhere along these lines and kind of play with your blacks here. So bringing this up and down is going to change how dark your actual black point is, and left and the right is going to change where it's going to turn into black. So you could bring this image right to the right. You can see how that's completely black, and now we have something that's a little bit kind of in the midpoint. So not only are we clipping our blacks, so we're turning a lot of that information to what would be completely dark, but because I brought this up a little bit, now it's more on the grayscale, which is a really cool way to just kind of like bring a little bit more style into those black and whites. You can do the exact same thing with those lights. So I'm going to click here on the top and kind of bring that down and over here to the left as well. So I can bring it up, which is going to give us more of a range, and down is going to give us a little bit less of a range. So we can wind up with an image that's a little bit on the flat side, but sometimes you actually want your image to be on the flat side. So this is totally up to you, and it's a really cool way to just kind of like get in your image and play around a little bit. All right, and that I kind of like. So you probably haven't seen a curve that looks like that very often, but I do like it. It creates this like really nice look. And you can see these shadows do drop just 100% off here. There's no information in here because I'm telling it basically what would be black, but it is not black, it's gray because I brought that guy up a little bit. So it's just a really cool way in which you can actually bring that in. Now we're going to play around a little bit here with channels to bring in a little bit more information. I can show you guys how to bring up, like if you want some highlights to kind of come up or your shadows to kind of come down a little bit, I'm going to work with that. I'm going to use channels to work with that. So let's click on our channel, and I'm going to click on either the red, green, or blue channel. And in this case, there's no difference between them because we are a black and white image. So there's no information between the red channel, green channel, blue channel. But what we can do is create selections with these. So I'm going to just duplicate any channel. We'll start off with the blue channel, and I'm going to hit Command L to bring up our levels. Now what we can do with our levels is we can kind of change our information here, and anything that we can see in this image we can turn into a selection. So the lighter areas can become selections, the darker areas will not be selected. So this is just a really great way to create those selections. So let's hit OK here, and now you can see if I were to select this, the front of her leg would get selected, the top of this leg would get selected, and the hair and things like that. And that's just the areas that I want to bring up in brightness a little bit. So we're going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and Command click on this blue copy layer, and that's going to select those areas. Now here back in our layers, what I can do is just create a new layer, and I'm just going to grab my brush tool, and we're going to paint white right on top of this layer. So we've made our selection in the channels, and now we're going to use that selection to adjust our light levels on those specific areas. So let's just zoom in, and I can hit Command H to hide my selection. And now I'm going to paint white right over here. Let's do that, and we'll do it on her hair as well, and then down this leg as well. Now this is fine tuning. This is like something that it's a little bit more advanced, but if you had someone's face and you just wanted to bring out little bits of detail, maybe like in their eyes or the top of their cheeks, this is the perfect way to do it. All right, so turning this layer off and on, we can see we were able to bring in just that little bit more detail right there. Let's say we want to bring in a little bit more to her hair. I'm going to create a new layer, and since I still have the selection, I can just paint it in over there. And I'll paint a little bit on her face and that little necklace thing she's wearing as well. There we go. So now we're working with just little local areas instead of working with this entire image. So there's the before and the after. It's not a huge change, but it is a nice way to bring some of those details really into focus and have your subject look right at those different places. The last little effect we're going to do on this image is a light leak. And a black and white image is a perfect place for a light leak because you don't have to worry about color at all. So you can just kind of have fun with it. So I'm going to grab an adjustment layer, and we're going to go down to curves. And then I'm going to bring my black point up. We'll just do something like this. There we go. That looks pretty good. And now we can just do whatever we want with this. I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to hit Command I to invert. And we're going to grab our gradient tool, paint with white to transparent. So we're going to choose the foreground or transparent gradient, and our foreground color is white now. We can just kind of like click from the outside and come in anywhere we want to do. And we grab the radial gradient. I think that'll look a little bit more on the natural side. So you could do something on the bottom here, the bottom left, the top left. Usually it makes sense to go in the same direction that the light would actually be coming in. In this case, I think that makes sense because the light is coming in from that direction. So let's zoom out, and we could even bring something in like this. You can also, this is another cool thing. You can create a point like right here, and then hit Command T, and then stretch this point around. So if you don't want it to just be like a round streak, you can actually like bring in something that, you know, looks like this and bring it to the left or to the right or really wherever you want. I'm gonna put it right about there because it's just gonna add that little bit of interest, again, right where our subject is, and I kind of like that there as well. So a couple different methods for using a black and white photo, and some new ways to get in there and play around. Let's take a look at the before and after so you guys can see what a big difference using channels and curves makes to create your black and white images. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed our journey into black and white. If you like what we've got going on here at Phlearn, subscribe to our YouTube channel, because there's a button right around this video and you can just click on it and then you get more awesome videos just like this one. If you have any ideas or things we left out or other ideas you had on black and white, leave it in a comment right down below. And if you have anyone in your life who you think might benefit from learning about this, just hit the share button and you can share it with all your friends. Thanks so much, guys, and we'll Phlearn you later.